time. Christmas is filled with wonderful stories, stuff we look forward to every single year in the theater, on TV. I think everybody has their favorite TV show or movie that they look forward to just about every year. Am I right? Yes. One or two that you got to see or it wouldn't be Christmas. Not that we need to turn this into a contest or anything, but let's see what kind of reaction some of our favorites get. Let's see what we got up here first. Oh, a Charlie Brown Christmas. 50th anniversary this year. Did anyone see it when it was on for the very first time? You remember that? In the days before DVRs and the days before VHS, you had to see it live or you didn't see it at all. So Charlie Brown, that was a good one. What else do we have here? A Christmas Carol. That's a you have about 4 or 5 different versions to pick from, but since this is my talk, I picked my favorite version with George C. Scott. Let's see, what else do we have up here? It's a Wonderful Life. Classic. And finally, what else do we have? What else might we have this morning? The Grinch. One of our favorite villains, and I'm talking about the one and only true version of The Grinch, which is the original animated TV show with the magnificent voice of Boris Karloff and that awesome, awesome song that we all know. You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch. You really are a heel. You're cuddly as a cactus. You're charming as an eel, Mr. Grinch. You're a bad banana with a greasy black peel. It's poetry, I tell you. Poetry, and everyone has a favorite verse, right? Stink, stank, stunk, or I wouldn't touch you with a 39.5-foot pole, and all that good stuff. That's great stuff. So exactly what is a Grinch? What species of creature is the Grinch? Well, Dr. Seuss never gives us those kind of details. All we know about the Grinch are 3 basic things. He had a heart that was 2 sizes too small. He hated Christmas, and he decided that he had to keep Christmas from coming somehow. And we really don't know why he hated Christmas so much. We don't get a background story. We don't get his history. There's no history of mental illness or abuse or anything like that. No indication of what might have set him down that dark path. All we know is it had something to do with all of the happy sounds that he heard at Christmas time. The Grinch lived up high on his own mountain with his little dog Max. I think we have a picture of that peering over the cliffside here. There's the Grinch, and there's sweet little Max. Well, I find Max very, very interesting because Max seems like a nice little fella, and the Grinch is kind of a nasty critter. But you know, anyone here owns a dog, you know that dogs have this unique ability to see the goodness in a person, even if it's locked away someplace deep. Max seemed to know, I think, somewhere deep down that the Grinch wasn't really a lost cause. So Max stuck with him. And then we have the little town of Whoville. That's where the Whos live, right? At Christmas time, they all get together to celebrate with singing and noisemakers and feasting. And up on his lonely perch on Mount Crumpet, the Grinch could see, there he is, that little speck up there, he could see and hear everything that was going on down there in Whoville. All of the noise, all of the happiness, especially at Christmas. It reminded him of what a lonely, miserable creature he was and how little joy there was in his life. And his isolation, as far as we know from the story, was self-imposed. Nobody kicked him out of town. He chose to live up there by himself. And he hated expressions of joy and happiness. So one year he decides he's going to do something about it. He's going to do away with the object of his discomfort. He's going to get rid of Christmas. And the Grinch thinks he's going to get rid of Christmas by stealing all of the Christmas celebration stuff down there in Whoville. He's going to take their trees, he's going to take their decorations, he's going to take their presents, their food, all of their noisy musical instruments, all of that stuff. So he gets dressed up, looks like Santa Claus, right? But instead of leaving presents, he does the reverse, right? He slithers down the chimney and he steals everything right down to the last can of hoo-hash. Hoo-hash, you got to say it like that. Cleans out the entire town, not a single Christmas thing left behind, and then he heads back up the mountain with all of the stuff on his sled. Poor Max has to pull it, there it is, filled to overflowing. He's got to get back up the mountain. And then he's going to stand up there and listen Christmas morning, where he expects to hear the sounds of wailing and gnashing of teeth. All the Who's down in Whoville will go boo-hoo, as it says in the story. But instead of any wailing and gnashing of teeth, what does the Grinch hear when the Who's wake up and see that all their stuff is gone? Why, he hears the sound of singing and celebration, just like nothing had happened. And we all know what happened next, right? Well, in Whoville they say that the Grinch's small heart grew 3 sizes that day, and then the true meaning of Christmas came through, and the Grinch found the strength of 10 Grinches plus 2. So strong that in fact he was able to lift up that overflowing sled and kept it from falling off the cliff, and he took that sled and he dashes back down to Whoville, where he returns all of the Christmas stuff to the Who's, and not only do they welcome him, they forgive him. And they make him their special guest at the big town community feast, where he has the honored position of carving the roast beast. Now, where's the justice in that? Seriously, what kind of message are we sending to our young people? You can steal stuff and get away with it? No jail time, no fine, no shootout. Isn't it interesting how a simple, animated, fictitious Christmas story can challenge our assumptions about the real world? Notions of justice in this situation. Now, even though everything was returned, right? But surely something must have gotten damaged in the process. Where's the accountability? Where's the responsibility? Surely the Grinch should be punished, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you a question, young man. What good is punishment without transformation? What good is punishment if you don't change, right? That's the message here. What good is punishment without transformation? A transformation of consciousness, which is what we're seeing here. That's one of the things that the story makes crystal clear, is that the Grinch was transformed right down to the core of his being, his heart. It grew 3 times that day. That's why these kinds of stories are so memorable. That's why we look forward to seeing them year after year. That's why they speak to us even after all of these years. We like hearing the message that anyone can change, that anyone can experience a transformation of consciousness. But how does that happen? Because think about the Grinch. The Grinch is an extra hard case, isn't he? He's like a walking psychology textbook, a walking pathology in psychology textbook. He's a pessimist, right? He's a cynic. He's aggressive to the point of being destructive. He's a pathological liar. Remember that part where he tells Cindy Lou Who that the reason he was taking their Christmas tree was because he needed to fix the lights on it. The lies just came tripping off the tongue so easily. There was nothing wrong with him. It was everyone else who was the problem. With all of their happiness and all of their noise, his entire focus is out there. He needs to make everyone else wrong. He needs to make everyone else feel as miserable and deprived and lonely as he is. He thinks all he has to do is change everything around him, and then everything will be okay. Now that is a major form of delusion. Or as we like to say it in Unity, that's a major form of error thinking. When we focus on changing everything around us but ignore what's going on within us, nothing really changes, does it? Grinch thinks he can destroy the Who's happiness by taking their Christmas stuff. And then the opposite happens. The Who's are just as filled with love and joy and community spirit as they were when they still had their stuff. That's when the Grinch finally gets it. Christmas has nothing to do with material possessions. Now, that's an easy message. Most people get that. The Grinch didn't get what he wanted. He didn't accomplish what he wanted. The Grinch was a total failure at stealing Christmas. Or as the people or the kids say today, it was a loser. Right? Total failure at stealing Christmas. In fact, maybe we ought to change the name of the story. Change it to how the Grinch almost stole Christmas or tried to steal Christmas. He failed. And yet, in failure, he was transformed. His failure was somehow transformative. How can that be? He should have been furious, right? Or at least maybe a little disappointed. A failure of this magnitude might drive a person even deeper into despair and cynicism and all those other things. Or it can cause us to wake up. It can be a heart-opening experience. Charles Fillmore, the co-founder of Unity, had something to say about failure. He wrote this in Dynamics for Living. He said, as we study the one great presence and power, we come to know that there is no chapter in our life that is such a failure but has back of it a grand purpose, which purpose must eventually, somewhere, somehow, work itself out in a most ennobling manner. There he is writing and using that language that we don't hear too often anymore, but what he says is true. Failure can be transformative. Think of this. Jesus was a failure too. Everyone had these huge, unreasonable expectations about what the Savior or the Messiah was supposed to accomplish. Everyone thought that there was going to be these earth-shattering changes in the outer world, that this Messiah figure was here to call down the armies of angels to defeat the Romans and then create a utopia, heaven on earth, the kingdom of heaven. And instead, quite the opposite happened. Things actually got worse. Their Messiah arrested and executed. And then a few years after that, the Roman army destroyed Jerusalem. Israel ceased to exist as a nation. And yet, out of that failure emerged a very important insight that we find in one of Paul's letters. It's like, okay, major failure, what aren't we seeing here? And we get this. A few simple lines. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, so that you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. Notice what he isn't saying here. He isn't saying escape from this world into the afterlife. He isn't saying that this world is bad or evil. He's simply saying, don't conform to this world. Go further. Stay in it, but change the way you think so that you can start to manifest more of what is true, good, and beautiful at a deeper level. Manifest it in this life. It becomes a matter of priority. It becomes a matter of perspective. Sometimes when people watch The Grinch, I hear the idea that the Grinch is all about anti-materialism, that the message is that Christmas is too excessive, too material, too much stuff. But I disagree. for one, I think, very obvious reason here, everyone gets their stuff back at the end. They get it all back. The stuff wasn't definitive. That's the important message. I'm sure we all have Christmas memories about stuff, right? Things that were given to us as gifts, the first sled, the first bicycle, whatever it happened to be. But if we really think about it, the most important things are the intangible things. And so I like to put it this way. It's not the gift, it's the spirit of generosity. It's not the presents, it's the presence that causes the heart to grow. Whatever form that presence might happen to take for us, the presence of others, a more spiritual presence in our lives, the presence of values that we tend to forget about or neglect the rest of the year. Sometimes you have to be a Grinch to get that. You have to be a Grinch to learn that and to experience it more deeply. That's why the Who's didn't beat the snot out of the Grinch or throw him in jail when he brought their stuff back, right? We've all been there, sleepwalking through the land of delusion, thinking that our good is out there someplace and that our problems are caused by stuff out there that we have to get rid of somehow, when it's really an inside job. So Christmas comes along every year as to give us a bit of a nudge, if we let it, if we're willing to embrace our inner Grinch, welcome the Grinch, and welcome and learn the lesson that he teaches by example. So, may your hearts grow 3 times this Christmas season, and may the Grinch be with you. See you next week.